It's a pleasure to chat with one of the people I enjoy watching in the hockey community. Mike Kelly is on NHL Network. He's part of the Amazon Prime Canada package. And Sportlogiq is not something I'm sure everybody is aware about, but we'll talk about that by the end of this conversation. Mike, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Longtime fan, and you do great work covering the Sharks for many years, and I'm glad to see you working for the Sharks. And the next step in your career is going to be playing for the Sharks, I guess. So
They did have me wearing skates the other day, but it didn't go so well. Bender was the word termed for me. Anyway, wide open question here to start our conversation. How do you evaluate the Sharks rebuild?
Oh, well, it's incomplete because they're still in it, right? And I think one thing that's important to remember with Mike Grier taking over when he did is that he didn't inherit a rebuild in the same way that some other general managers have. But it was still kind of, in terms of what was on the books, where the team was at, there was some cleaning up to do before you can then get to the moving forward part. So it's still a work in progress. You know, for San Jose to be a perennial competitive playoff team, we're years away still. And obviously San Jose knows that. The Sharks know that. The fans know that. But, you know, by and large, I think they've done a pretty good job. You get a first overall pick in someone like Macklin Celebrini. That's incredible, right?
Sure.
But even other guys, Will Smith, who wasn't a first overall pick, but high first rounder. Some of the moves that they've made, they brought back good pieces. The Meyer trade, they got Zetterlund back in that. I think it was the pick that got Quentin Musty as well. So those are the kind of things you're doing as you're rebuilding, as you're trying to stock the shelves. Maybe the one thing I didn't quite understand in this whole process was the Hurdle trade and what came back and how that was when it was done and all that. But, you know, again, it's clear that the approach is we are starting kind of fresh with this new crop. And man, is there a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Sharks fan.
Yeah, it's tearing down and then building up. Obviously, the tearing down, to your point, had to be done. I'm not sure people understood that as much in real time of what was going on. You had a Twitter thread earlier this season on Macklin Celebrini, some of the metrics, some of the deep dives into what made him impressive already. And that was beyond just scoring goals. I'm wondering if you can recount a little bit of that for those who missed it. And also if you've had any evolution on thoughts on his season so far and what exactly is impressive about him.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he's been able to do this already. Like, there's parts of his game that are mature so far beyond his years that you don't typically see from players until they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into the league, if ever. And this guy's doing it in his first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 games. That's what blows me away. Like, we know coming into the draft, good 200-foot player, both sides of the puck, creates offenses, good speed, all those kind of things. The kind of details of his game that typically players have to learn over the years, he's already doing it, not at a high rate for a rookie, at a high rate for anybody. So like, you mentioned Sportlogiq, the company I work for, analytics company. We track a lot of things that go beyond just hits and shots and blocks and those kind of things. I'll rattle a few off for you. So things that fans are going to be familiar with. This is amongst all forwards in the NHL, not just rookies. Third in scoring chances. Fifth in controlled zone entry. So that's carrying the puck into the offensive zone. You got to have skill to do that. You got to have speed. And he's fifth among all forwards. The guys ahead of him are McKinnon and Jack Hughes and McDavid, like the best of the best. Cycle chances. So cycling the puck around in the offensive zone, third in the league. 15th in rush chances. So that's off the rush, creating opportunities. Getting passes to your teammates in the slot. One reason why it's not fair to evaluate Celebrini as a playmaker by assists, which is where you would go first. Not a ton of talent around him yet, right? They're still in this rebuild. Jack Hughes went through this in his first year, didn't have a lot of points. Some people were throwing out the word bust. But if you looked at how many times he set his teammates up, they didn't always finish, it was high. So Celebrini's 15th in completing passes into the slot to his teammates. Defensive side of the puck, blocking passes, 11th. Stick checks, so separating an opponent from the puck with your stick, 2nd. And 3rd in winning puck battles. Like that, to me, those kind of details at this point in his career, to me, is remarkable. And he reminds me elements of his game of a guy they just played, which is Sidney Crosby. Same kind of stature, height, low center of gravity, puck protection, and those details away from the game too.
You know what else is amazing beyond all the stats and ways you can quantify it? If you just watch him play, when he's got the puck, his head is never looking down. He's always
Yeah.
looking up. And that's such a simple thing to say about a hockey player. Well, keep your head up. Watch the play. Watch what's going on. He's like 3 steps ahead of the play, I feel like, because he's able to see it. And so many, even other NHL skaters with the puck, it's sometimes head down, it's head looking around. It's almost like his head can't go down when he's got the puck. It's amazing.
I know. It really is. And you know what? I think in this day and age that hockey sense has been lost a little bit as the skill has gone so high.
Yeah.
What guys can do with the puck is amazing, right?
Right.
But some of that awareness, the things that don't make for a good YouTube video, is a bit lost. Like guys can do Michigans now. Everybody can. Great.
Right.
But you're right. You do catch guys skating the puck with their head down or not really paying attention. Yeah, he doesn't do that. It's one of the reasons why, again, those entries into the offensive zone are so high.
Yeah.
And when you do those things, you're not only seeing what's right in front of you, right? But by the time he gets the puck, he's already scanned multiple options. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I say it's a simple thing to skate and handle the puck with your head up, but that's not, right? Like that's the whole part of it. It's the skill to be able to do that allows you to have your head up, that allows you to be ahead of the play. So with all those stats and all that quantification, is he the Calder frontrunner right now? And if the trend of his season continues, is it his to win right now?
Oh, man, it's a great question. I don't know that it's his to win right now because you've got this guy in Montreal, Lane Hudson, who is doing things that we haven't seen a rookie defenseman do in a long time.
That's right.
And again, forgetting about rookies, just where he is in assists among defensemen is high, let alone rookies points. He's right up there. And I think maybe if you're looking for tie-breaking kind of stuff, his team's in a playoff race. They're starting to drop a little bit. Right. I don't think they're going to make it. Celebrini's, to me, they're 1A and 1B. And if you voted for one over the other, I wouldn't argue it. Yeah. I personally, right now, ever so slightly would be leaning Celebrini. And the other guy that could throw a fly in the ointment is Dustin Wolf in Calgary.
I knew that's who you were going to say. Bay Area native, by the way. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Yes. Again, rookie goalie. The Flames are not even close to a playoff spot without him. Like he's been reason 1, 2, and 3 why they are where they are, right. I think.
It's crazy because Michkov was supposed to be maybe the biggest competitor, and to your point, Lane and Wolf are actually what is maybe surrounding Celebrini the most. So it'll be fun to watch down the stretch.
Yeah.
Now, everybody around here obviously is focused on Celebrini. It's clear that he has kind of emerged as the name, and everybody's got his jersey around here. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Will Smith, and Will Smith is having a just fine season too, considering that this is his rookie campaign and all other things considered. Like if Will Smith were having this season on a playoff-bound team, everybody would be happy about it.
Yeah.
It's just that maybe Celebrini garners a little bit more attention. I think that's fine for Smith. I think he's going to be just fine. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, those guys are good buddies, and I think that helps. And it's not often you see guys that aren't first overall picks even playing, full time in the NHL
right
that early. And Will Smith's a high end pick. I think in the games that I've watched, when Will Smith's having a good game, like that good is really good.
Yeah,
that to me is going to become more consistent the longer he's in the league. The inconsistency for me is the thing that's the work in progress, and that is so common with players his age and with his level of experience. So. Nothing to worry about.
No.
I'm with you. And I think, he's found some good chemistry on his line. Celebrini, obviously, with Toffoli has found good chemistry as well. I think he's in a great spot, not having to be like the young rookie. Yeah. And we're seeing kind of how that can negatively impact another guy who's in Chicago, who doesn't have anywhere to hide or any way to shelter him. It's all on him. So I think for Smith, it's kind of great to just fly right there.
I think all the younger players in San Jose are a little bit better positioned because of what they're surrounded by and the overall direction in San Jose versus Chicago. I think Bedard's got it tough. I know the sophomore season is always a thing, but I feel like maybe Bedard has it harder right now than Celebrini or Smith do. You mentioned Quentin Musty earlier. I'm a big Sam Dickinson fan. Any other names in the Sharks pipeline beyond Celebrini and Smith? Any other ones that pop out to you?
No, Dickinson's a good one. Like I'm surprised. I was at the draft in Vegas, and I was surprised he went 11th.
And they moved up to get him at 11, right? The Sharks initially had 14 overall.
That's right. And when San Jose moved up and grabbed him, I was like, you're going to look back on that and be happy.
That's what I said too. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a chance to watch Dickinson play live a couple times this year. He is such a great skater, and just thinks the game so well. He's going to be a really good NHL defenseman for a long time, I think. I thought he was going to kind of go in that 6 to 9 range.
Yeah.
And look, there's good players in there, and there were so many defensemen. It was almost like pick what you like about them.
Right.
But yeah, I was surprised he wasn't in the top 10. So he's a good one. And Muka Madula in the American leagues, having a strong year. And he should be a guy that's a solid NHL pro for a lot of years too. He'd be another guy I'd throw on that list.
Yeah,
and Askarov, like, I don't know, does he count as a prospect?
That's a great question. I feel like
he's
already
legit.
Yeah, he's already established himself, I think. He might go back to the American Hockey League. I think he's actually going to play in the All-Star game. So there might be some bubble type situation for him this year. But to your point, I think it's very clear what the long term is going to be for him. His contract extension, by the way, doesn't even start until next year. So he's locked in for a bit. I think they want to be patient with him. But to your point, we can all see that, right? We know where he's going.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he's not only like a legit starter, but like a really good starter in the league.
I agree with you.
Definitely.
It's been a while for the Sharks that they've had a goalie with this much potential upside for the future. What type of trade deadline are we due to see? And the Rantanen deal happening, when it did, how it did, I don't know if that sets the tone for what this deadline is going to be like. The fact that even the name Sidney Crosby was mentioned and then shot down blows my mind. How do you see this deadline in the next couple weeks going?
Yeah, well, you got to get those clicks, right? So you throw Sid's name out there.
The metrics, yep.
Well, yeah, that's why you'll probably clip what I said about Celebrini in the deadline. And
you already know it. No, I'm going to use the stats part. I already know I'm going to use the stats part. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, it's interesting that big move happened as early as it did. It obviously caught Rantanen and his side off guard.
Yeah, right.
So when we know there's certain GMs that like to do their business earlier than later, Vancouver is such a fascinating situation because of Miller and Pettersson.
Yeah.
But they got Brock Besser, who's a UFA as well.
Right.
And those aren't just guys you're throwing on a third or fourth line. I mean, these are guys that are drivers, big time scorers. So that's going to be fascinating. Granlund, forget San Jose, we're just talking about big picture trade deadline. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Ryan Donato in Chicago is, kind of a net front type of guy. Could get some interest. Those are all UFAs. The other guy that I've been thinking about is, and he's signed for a number of more years, is Yanni Gourde. Mm-hmm. If you're a team like I just think about Toronto and their need for a third line center. I think he'd be a great fit there, but there's other teams that would see that too. What he can do kind of defensively and chip in offensively as well.
So it sounds like not a wild deadline here. You were very reasonable in those names. That all makes sense. There's nothing off the wall maybe to see coming necessarily.
Well, we didn't see Rantanen coming when it did, so
that was the shocker. Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of way too early predictions, which this is a way too early prediction, it's not fair for me to ask, but I'll do it. Who are your Cup favorites like right here, right now, end of January, early February?
Yeah, I've got a pretty clear one, I think, if I had to say. Look, I'm a numbers guy. I'm always going to bet the field over a team. But if you're going to pick a team, Edmonton. And it's not a crazy pick because they were that close last year. Yep. But the thing that I think, is maybe lost on, like they had another brutal October, a second year in a row. I don't know what it is with them in October. They can't do anything right. And then they just start running the floor.
Right.
But their defensive game is so good. It kind of reminds me in a way of Colorado when they won the Cup in 2022. It was McKinnon and Landy and Rantanen and Makar and the offense and the speed. They were the best defensive team in the league that year in terms of, expected goals against. Everything was so low in terms of what they gave up. Edmonton's reminds me a bit of that. They don't give up a lot of chances. Skinner's playing better. So I'd have them. Dallas is really good. And you feel like one of these years they're going to break through somehow maybe. Florida is good again, and I think they've got another level. They're not playing their best to this point, but they'll hit another level. The wild card team I'll throw out there, and this is very dependent on health and what they might do at the trade deadline.
Is it the Wild?
No. Losing Kaprizov for a while sucks for them, but
yeah. I was gonna say. Well, you said wild card. I got my mind racing. Yeah. So who is your wild card team?
It's Tampa Bay. I just get this weird feeling that their January record-wise wasn't good. They're without boring people with the math side of it, they should have scored more than they did, more than any other team this month in the league. There's some regression that's going to happen. Maybe they get a guy or two at the deadline. I think underneath there's kind of a lot bubbling for this team to maybe hit their stride at the right time.
Wow. Tampa surviving without Stamkos somehow, some way, right? Speaking of superstars, Ovi's obviously on, the goal watch and started the season on a tear. The injury was terrible, but he recovered in 40 days from the broken fibula. Unbelievable. And then scores a bunch of goals in his first couple games back. He's within 20 now. What's your predictions? What do the numbers tell you about his pace and when this might happen? I think we're all assuming it's going to happen. Only a matter of when this might happen, this season or next season.
Well, he needs 20 goals in 32 remaining games. Is it 32, 33? I think it's 32.
That's a heavy pace to carry.
It is. And he's done it. And he's done it. He's capable of doing it. You look at the way he finished last season, even the way he started this season. That's kind of the rate we're talking about. Right. But that's a lot to ask for. And it's going to get, the microscope is just going to get bigger and bigger as you get closer. I don't know if that's going to affect him at all, really. But, and they're going to put him in every situation possible to get those goals, right?
Yeah.
Power
play, left dot, one time, ready to go. Right? Yeah. Put him in his office.
Empty netter, just hang out at the red line, Ovi.
Yep.
Yeah. So he'll get every opportunity. I think the odds are that he doesn't get there this year. It's a big ask. But if he doesn't get there this year, I think it's kind of better in a way because he'll probably be a handful off, right? Not many.
Right.
And then you've got the off season to make this big
buzz, hype, all that stuff.
The longer that's around, the better it is for the league and everyone following it, right? Because when this happens, this is leading Sports Center in the US.
Right.
It's leading sports shows around the world. It's a big thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think the odds are it happens probably early next season.
And I think to your point, what if it happened late in this season, then all of a sudden, it's the playoff push, it's the Stanley Cup, we forgot about Ovi and the great milestone. It would be a better scene setter for the start of next year if he does it in, I don't know, early November or whatever, and then you have weeks and months after that to kind of make that the big focus, parade him around, the NHL circuit, and everybody's talking about he just passed Gretzky. I feel like, it would work out better that way. Hey, last but not least, we mentioned Sportlogiq earlier. I've known about this for a while. I've seen the product. I have a hard time describing, maybe to the casual fan, exactly what this is, who uses it, how you get all these great statistical pieces of information. So what is the company? What's your role there? Try and give me everything all in one take if you could.
Sure. I'll try to do this quickly. The company Sportlogiq, we're the biggest third-party data supplier in hockey. And so to the casual fan, what that means is, again, go to NHL.com, look at all the stats, right? When I talk about things like puck battles and zone entries, puck on stick possession, different shot and chance types, that's all the stuff we're tracking. So a lot underneath. That's what 31 of the 32 teams in the NHL use us for that. We work with other leagues, junior leagues, other professional leagues. So we're collecting a whole bunch more information through machine learning, artificial intelligence, computer vision tracking system. It collects all this stuff.
Wow.
We distribute it. So that's what we do. And we work with a lot of media partners as well in Canada and the US. Adds a little more context. Like, if you're going to say, wow, Celebrini, he's scoring and it's great, but look at all the other great things he does when he's on the ice. You can see that.
Right.
I can tell you he's third in the league in winning puck battles.
Right.
It just adds that little punch, right? That thing behind me we call that the slot, little home plate shaped area, right?
A little familiar with that.
Yeah. So 75% of goals every year come from there.
Right.
So we talk about that area a lot and you go into greater detail. So for me as a storyteller, someone who came up through media first and then analytics, it to me, if you're going to say I don't need numbers, I don't like numbers, I watch the game, whatever. And I've had people say that and that's fine. You don't have to break out Excel sheets and start building models and start coding.
Right.
It can just give you more context. It can reaffirm what you believe to be true.
Right.
And I talk to other analysts around the league. I talk to coaches, players, all sorts of different people. The people that really know the game well, 90-something% of what they see, it matches, right?
Mm-hmm.
That other single-digit percentage point, that's the value.
Right.
And that's the separator for the teams that do this well the broadcasts that use it to tell a great story. That's where I see it being really valuable.
Well, in terms of definitions of things, this interview I think was a grade A chance, and you buried it.
Hey!
So if I'm speaking Sportlogiq language, Mike Kelly, it's a pleasure to talk to you here. Thank you for doing this, and I hope to do it again sometime down the road.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Real pleasure talking to you as well. And yeah, future's really bright in San Jose, so the fans should be pumped.